You're listening to Change Your POV Podcast, episode 156.
Hated dealing with people, hated dealing with crowds. Whenever being in as many deployments as I was in, whenever you saw a crowd, something was bound to happen. I hated that feeling. I hated feeling anxious every time I walked into a store or walked into a restaurant, having to deal with people. It was just something that I could not deal with.
Change Your POV is dedicated to helping veterans be as successful out of uniform as they were when they were in. The one thing that keeps resurfacing the more veterans we talk to is the realization that we just cannot do this alone. And nor should we. And in today's post-9/11 world, and with the technology we have available at our fingertips, there is no reason that we have to. Our next guest, Gene Bryant, is the founder and CEO of Battle Buddies for Life, a veteran nonprofit seeking to intervene in the lives of veterans who are suffering from depression, PTSD, and other emotional traumas as a result of their service. No one has to be alone. All right, folks, welcome to Change Your POV Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Lazary, and I am on the phone with Gene Bryant, who is the founder and CEO of Battle Buddies for Life. And you can learn more about that by heading over to battlebuddiesforlife.com, all one word. And he reached out to me and we connected and I chatted with him for a little bit. And this is definitely something that I thought would be great to bring on the show and share with all of you, the listening audience. But before we get too far down that road, this week's sponsor is brought to you by none other than Mountain Up. 10th Mountain Apparel is the premier military clothing and apparel store. And let me tell you, folks, the boys over, or I'll say boys and girls over there at 10th Mountain are constantly rolling out a new product. They are listening to their audience. They're listening to their customer base, and they're producing what you guys want. I mean, they've got everything from, obviously it's clothing and apparel, but they got all kinds of other things too. They got this guy that actually makes handcrafted woodworking, like wall decor, right? So different divisions like the 10th Mountain Division crest and other crests and things, other divisions. They even have it's not just Army, they also have Marine Corps. Bennett actually has one of those handcrafted wood carvings of the Marine Corps crest, and he's got that hanging on as well. Really, really cool stuff. And their Facebook page, if you head on over there, Mountain Up, then there's actually some videos of the guy actually making some of these handcrafted wood products. So folks, you've got to check it out. If you are in the market or you just really want to see some really cool stuff being made, the folks over there at 10th Mountain are really doing it up right. So you can check it out at changeyourpov.com/mountain up, all one word, changeyourpov.com/mountain up. And when you're there, we got a special discount for you. You just enter in the discount code GOOD10, GOOD10, for 10% off everything at checkout. All right, folks. So, if you do find something there and you buy it and you get it home, whether it's a hat or one of those wood carvings, come on, Change Your POV. Let me know. I'd love to hear about your product and hear about how well you like it. I love their hats. Bennett and I both have a couple of each of their different hats. And I'm just in love with their hats and other products that they got. So check it out. All right, Gene, welcome, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem. So this month is February, and we're talking about all things relating to relationships. That is the theme for February, is relationships. And I figured, what better relationship to talk about than the relationship of the battle buddy? And for those that have served, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those that haven't, maybe you're not entirely, in the know or whatever, which is totally fine. A lot of the listening audience at Change Your POV actually are not service members, and they listen to the show because they want to learn more about veterans and kind of what we do and what we're all about, which is really cool. So Gene, talk to us a little bit about kind of your background, your military experience, and how Battle Buddies for Life came to be.
Well, I served in the United States Army for 17 and a half years. And out of those 17 and a half years, I've been deployed all around the world 9 different times. That's 9 different combat zones somewhere. Mm. When I came back and I retired in 2012, I went from job to job, searching, trying to find my place in today's society. Mm. Never could really fit in anywhere. So I went to a couple of friends of mine who happen to be lawyers and said, you know what? I'm tired of the red tape. I'm tired of the wait at the VA. I want to do something to change the lives of veterans. They said, what did you have in mind? I said, I want to run a nonprofit that actually does what we say we're going to do. So it took some time, but Battle Buddies for Life came into being in March of 2014. So we're just turning 3 years old. We have counseling centers set up pretty much throughout the entire United States of America, ready to see veterans and their family members within a 1 to 3 day turnaround time.
So before we go too much further, in your service, just talk to us a little briefly about, what was your MOS? What did you do in the Army? Where were some of the places you deployed? Because the listening audience out there like to kind of think about where they might have been during that time and maybe perhaps ran into you somewhere.
I started out as an MP, so I was always deployed to either Gitmo or one of the detainee camps in Iraq. And my last duty station in Iraq was at Camp Buka. Before we shut it down, we were the last unit to move out the detainees and shut the place down. So, but yeah, I've been all over. I enjoyed my time being in the MP Corps, but after my last deployment, I wanted to switch over to the admin side of the house. Got tired of being on the front lines, so I wanted to try and do something in the rear, Finance was where I ended up as an admin clerk. So, when you're responsible for making sure people get paid, you kind of get liked by everybody.
Yeah.
So, I finished out my career as an admin unit out at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, and I made South Carolina my home.
That's awesome. So you enlisted or officer when you were in?
I was enlisted.
Okay. And you active duty, right?
Yes.
What divisions were you in?
Okay. Well, when I first started out, I was attached to an Air Force unit, which was the 27th Fighter Squadron in Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. And then after that, I went over to Kaiserslautern, Germany, and was with the 101st over there for a while until they moved. And then I came back and was at Fort Bliss and Fort Killeen. From there, I got deployed 2 times while at Fort Killeen. Once to Gitmo, once to Iraq, to Baghdad.
Where at in Baghdad were you?
I was in Fallujah.
Okay, what year was that?
I was in 2002.
Oh, okay. Fallujah in 2002?
Yep.
Wow.
So
okay. So you were in the initial ground invasion then. That would have to be.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
How was that? I bet you that was craziness.
That was a wild ride, let me tell you.
Yeah.
That was something else.
And what division were you with then, did you say?
We were with 137th, or 137th MP Company.
Okay.
Out of Killeen.
Out of Killeen, Texas?
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, I was Fort Hood. I was 1st Cav Division at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So we deployed. We were
Very
with
nice.
the 1st Cav we deployed over there March 04 to March 05.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Okay. We're tracking now. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Yeah. My 17 and a half years, I really enjoyed it. I never did get to go to Afghanistan. So what I did when I got stationed at Fort Jackson as an admin clerk, I volunteered to go to Afghanistan. At the time, I was thinking of it as being a suicide mission. I had hardly been everywhere else. There was one place I did not go that I wanted to go.
So you briefly talked about getting out and not really being comfortable and being able to find your place. Can you describe that a little bit? What does that mean to not be able to find your place?
Well, when a person gets out of the military, like I did in October of 2012, I was not getting a paycheck from the government until March of 2013. So I fell into the black hole, and I about lost everything. I about lost my house. I about lost my family. I've got a wife who somehow, for some reason, has decided to stick by me through all of the deployments. I went from job to job, never really fitting in anywhere. I finally got a job as a paralegal, working with the attorney.
So let's back up for a minute. So what do you mean when you say not fitting in anywhere? Like I really want to get to the nuts and bolts, like the under the carpet, so to speak, of this. It's easy to say, and I know what you're talking about, but a lot of listening audience out there may not really understand. So I really kind of want to get to the heart of it, and that is, why didn't you feel like you were able to fit in or connect?
Because I hated dealing with the people, hated dealing with crowds. Whenever being in as many deployments as I was in, whenever you saw a crowd, something was bound to happen, and I hated that feeling. I hated feeling anxious every time I walked into a store or walked into a restaurant, having to deal with people. It was just something that I could not deal with.
Now, is that something that your wife picked up on? Like, was she sensitive to how you were feeling in those situations, or were you able to kind of mask it or conceal it so you knew you were dealing with it inside, but other people around you may not be aware that you were dealing with it?
I thought I was masking it pretty well, but come to find out I wasn't.
How'd you come to find that out?
I would get talked to by supervisors and by other people, and to include my wife. She knew something was different about me. She knew something was off.
Yeah, what would your supervisors say?
That they did not like the way I was handling or talking to their customers. That I needed to show the customers respect and needed to be less aggressive when I was dealing with them.
Now, did you feel like you were being aggressive with those customers at the time?
At the time, no, but I look back on it. Yes, I can see where they were coming from, but it was just my mentality.
Right.
I couldn't handle it. They say customers is always right, but being where I've been, the customer is not always right. You never know what's going to happen. And I still have that feeling where whenever my wife and I go out to dinner, I have to sit with my back to the wall, and I have a clear view of the entire restaurant, including all the exits, and I'm scanning the room, looking for trouble. That's something that will probably never go away with me.
So are you doing anything now to kind of help work through some of those feelings and some of those thoughts and emotions?
I am seeing a counselor twice a week. Twice a month, I should say. Not twice a week. He's helping me resolve some of my issues, but that's the reason why I started Battle Buddies for Life, because this is my self-medication. I know what I went through, and I don't want other people having to go through it. I want them to know that they are not alone, and they can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and somebody that knows where they've been will pick up the phone and they will talk to them.
So so when they pick up the phone and call the number, is it to you and only you, or do you have like a network of people that are around to pick up that call?
I have a network of individuals. All of our phones will ring simultaneously, so whoever gets through the phone first is the first one to answer the call. But all of our phones will ring at the same time all over the United States.
And how no matter where, what type of service is that? How did you hook that up?
Through Google Voice.
Oh, okay. And what's the number for everybody listening?
803-768-LIFE, LIFE, or 5433.
And so what are the types of, like, let's talk about volumes of calls. Do you track how many phone calls you get on a monthly, daily, weekly basis or anything like that?
Yes, we do have a call log that we use on a weekly basis. And we track the number of calls, and from the number of calls we get, we can usually determine whether or not a wellness check needs to be done on the individual, or we need to get them into counseling, or we just need to stay on the phone with them for as long as it takes for them to let everything out.
Yeah, so did you say wellness track?
A wellness check.
Oh, yes. Wellness check. All right, so describe for us what a wellness check is.
You have a individual that calls the lifeline, and they are talking about hurting themselves or hurting somebody else. We pick up the phone, call the local sheriff's department in their area, and have the sheriff's department go and check on them.
Now, having a military police background, has that been able to help you train other people within this organization deal with local police departments of the caller's area?
Yes, it has. Because what I do when I answer the phone, and I always answer it Battle Buddies for Life. Gee, may I help you? That way they automatically know, okay, he is a veteran. He sounds like a veteran because of how we had to answer the phone being in the military. And I get all the information up front, their name and their address. I do that for one of two reasons. One, I know where they are calling me from. And if something happens to them, I know where the last place to look at. And the second reason is if I have somebody local in that area through my network, I can get them, I can pick up the other phone, call them and say, hey, I need you to go check on this buddy, this battle. Go do that, make sure they're okay, make sure they do not harm themselves, and give me a serve up.
Right. And so how many people are in this extended network right now?
We have, across the states, we have 14 individuals that are helping me man the lifeline.
And how did you end up training? I mean, does these guys that you worked with in the military that you know personally, or are these just people that are interested that found out through either as a caller themselves or your website? Like, how did you find and recruit these 14 individuals?
7 of them I have actually worked with in the military, and the other 7 found us through the website and Facebook.
Okay. And
we get them trained through Talk Saves Lives and Safe Talk training. We conduct that over the internet, face to face with them, and if they have any questions, we answer the questions to the best of our knowledge, based on the situations that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, is that training that you developed yourself, or is that like an off-the-shelf training type of package?
It's off-the-shelf training package.
And what's that called again?
Talk Saves Lives and Safe Talk.
Talk Saves Lives
in Safe Talk.
And how long does that training take?
If you go through both trainings at the same time, it takes 9.5 hours.
Wow. Okay. Pretty extensive then, huh?
Yes.
Is there like a certification or something at the end, or how do you track?
You get a certificate of completion.
Okay.
That way, you know, yes, I have completed this training. I am certified as a Safe Talk crisis counselor.
That's really cool. So why, in your opinion, I know personally, and I know those that are listening may have their own experiences, but from your perspective, what's been kind of the ultimate reason for Battle Buddies for Life? I know you got out yourself. You found it difficult to connect and find your place, and you didn't want those other people to kind of go through that experience. If you can help us, I get all of that, but at the root of it, at the core of Battle Buddies for Life, it is essentially about relationships, right?
In the military, you've always had a battle buddy with you. Always. They were your first line of defense. They were the first ones to know when something happened or was wrong. They could tell. I want to build that relationship and that bond back up with the veterans that leave the military. Because once you leave the military, that being all you need that bond. You need that friendship. You need your battle buddies to stand up and say, you know what? We are in this together. That's why our motto for Battle Buddies for Life is always strong, always faithful, always together. We will always be your battle buddy, no matter what branch of the service you were in. You are always considered a battle buddy. We will always be faithful to you as a battle, and we are always stronger together.
And how have these relationships been able to? I mean, obviously you have the crisis line, but there's more to Battle Buddies for Life than just the number, the crisis hotline. It's also, like you said, you've got a Facebook community. Do you do any type of physical meetups, get-togethers, or anything like that?
We do have meetings and family gatherings throughout the year. Some of the guys will go out and go fishing. We'll go camping, hunting together. The families will get together and we'll have a picnic in a park or a cookout or different events like that throughout the year. We can bring everybody together because it's not just us that need the help. The veterans, it's their spouses, it's the kids, it's the whole family. And that's what this organization is all about, is bringing everybody together to let them know, hey, my wife has been there alongside of me through these deployments. She's seen the changes I've gone through. She is available to talk if you have any questions, because she started up a spouses support group. For spouses, and a family support group for the families. It's a network. We are building a network together.
Right. And it's kind of funny too, right? When we're in the military, they have these things called FRG, right? Family readiness groups. And, we had to attend mandatory FRG meetings before we deployed, and we had to get our spouses and children with proper contact information and this whole network thing. And the whole time we were in, or at least this was my take on it, I was like, it was one of those like mandatory fun things that you just kind of had to do, right? And you wanted you wanted your family to be taken care of while you were on deployment, but you didn't really see at the time, what the real value in that group was until now you get out of the military and you find yourself in real need of an FRG type of group outside of the military. Now, obviously, an FRG served its own purpose within the military, but the idea is the same. It's having the contact names and numbers of individuals in and around you that can help, and I mean, things that the FRG would help while we were on deployment were things like, helping families and wives that were, pregnant, cut their grass, or, change oil in a car, or, the things that you just kind of learn to take for granted when your husband or the other significant other was around. Now all of a sudden they're gone, and they're not just gone on a weekend. They're gone for, a year or 18 months or some crazy things like that. I know your 9 deployments, I'm sure, varied in length each time, but that's a significant amount of time to be away from essentially your support group, your immediate, nuclear family. And so without that nuclear family, you need to substitute it with something else, in your life. And Battle Buddies for Life sounds like this is something similar in concept to that FRG when we were in, but this is the civilian and/or veteran kind of version of it. Is that a pretty accurate description?
That would be a very accurate description of it.
Those that might be interested in partaking or participating or being involved with this, is there a vetting process? Is there an application? Is there just how does somebody get involved if they want to?
We do a very extensive vetting process for the veterans. Any veteran that wants to partake and be a part of our program, we have to have proof of their military service, whether it be a DD-214 or NGB-22 if you were National Guard. For the family members, there's a questionnaire that they have to be able to answer. Like when you, if you ever received a Red Cross message being in the military, mm-hmm. there were certain questions the Red Cross had to ask in order for them to put the message through. We ask similar questions for the family portion of it in order to make sure we are vetting the right individuals for the right moment at the right time.
What's been some of, without giving up any names or anything like that, just what's been some of the most emotional or heartbreaking stories, whether they were personal with you or just ones that you heard through your other 14 members of veterans out there kind of in that bad place in their life?
It's very emotional when we refer someone to counseling and they actually make the first appointment. And what we do at Battle Buddies for Life is we pay for the first 5 co-pays of counseling. Mm. So that takes away one of their stressors. Mm-hmm. And we try to relieve as many of the stressors as we can. And for them to actually take that first step and make the call or, into one of the counseling centers that we refer them to, and they actually go through with it. And they're like, you know what? Thank you. This is what I needed. This is what's putting me back on track. Because we make, being in the military, we veterans that run the lifeline, we use integrity. And we make sure we bring that up in our conversation. Say, like I'm talking to someone who is really down, really depressed, losing everything. I will say, okay, brother, I know you're going through stuff, but you need to give me your word, your honor, your integrity right now, right here, that you will not harm yourself or harm anyone else while we assist you in getting you the help that you need. And usually when we put it that way and that blunt, they 90% of the time is a yes. I promise. I will not do anything.
What's the common causes for the folks that call your hotline? What's some common themes? Is it, are they broke? Are they depressed? Are they calling when they're drunk? Like, what are some common themes that you see amongst these folks that have called into your line?
We've actually had all of the above, to be honest with you. We've had some that have called into the lifeline, just drunk off their butts, trying to drink themselves into oblivion, because the voices in their heads will not shut up. And the only way to make them shut up is for them to drink. Those we take a little bit more serious, and we get EMS called to their location, and we get them into a hospital to where they will be safe. We have a lot of them are depressed and just don't know where to turn to. The VAs let them down, and so they're lost. They feel lost. They're like, okay, well, I'm supposed to go to the VA, but the VA says that they can't see me or they can't help me. What do I do? Where do I turn? So they are depressed, and that's when we step in, and we try to step in at that point and say, you know what? Here, let us help you. And we are partnered with the United Way, so whatever resources we don't have, the United Way has. And so that partnership has been wonderful.
That's cool to have that partnership, because they're a pretty established organization, yeah?
Yes.
So you talked to me about counseling centers that you can refer folks to. Do you have a network of counseling centers, or do you, while you're on the call, you just hop on the computer and do a search for counseling centers in that particular area? How do you work that piece of it?
The majority of my time as the founder and CEO is calling or emailing different counseling centers all across the United States and asking them to be a part of our database as a resource for veterans. And I explain to them what we do, who we are, what we are trying to do, and I build my database from their answers. And we have her intake form, her referral form, just like any other counseling center would, but we use our own referral form, and we send it out to every counseling center nationwide that we have in our database for that particular area, for that particular person. And it's a unified referral form. So whenever someone in California calls and needs help, they get the same referral form as someone in North Carolina. And we just do it that way.
I got it. So how many counseling centers do you have in your database now, roughly?
I would say roughly about 25. 7 of those are in California. We have 2 in Oregon, 1 in Washington State. We have 3 or 4 in Florida. I want to say we have 4 in Georgia as well. We have a few around the South Carolina area, 2 in Texas, and 1 in New Mexico.
Wow. So you're really just kind of trying to blanket the country there, at least.
Exactly.
Yeah, trying to get as much coverage as you can. Sure. So how do folks find out? I mean, how do veterans out there learn about you? I mean, it's not like, when you're in that place in your life where you're just not giving a shit, right? And you're just, you're depressed, you're angry, you're self-medicating. You're not in the right state of mind, right? I mean, it's not like those guys are going to hop on the computer and do a whole lot of searching and try to figure out who they can call. So how do you get your message out, or how have you been getting your message out to kind of spread the word and awareness of Battle Buddies for Life?
Believe it or not, word of mouth is one of our biggest and best advertisements we have. We have people calling from all over the country that has had a family member in the military at some point in their life. And so word of mouth advertising is the best. We do have, of course, our Facebook page, and I follow Whisper, the Whisper app, because a lot of veterans like to use Whisper as okay, this is my last shot. I'm going to say goodbye on here. And if I can catch them at that right moment, I can save their life.
Yeah, so talk to us briefly about what Whisper is. Some of the listening audience may not have ever heard this.
Whisper is an app that is completely anonymous. You can go on there and you can save anything you want to, and it's completely anonymous. The only thing that's not anonymous is where you are, like your location. It will give you a general location, but it does not pinpoint exactly where you are. And you can go on there and you can say, I've had it. I'm fed up. I don't know where to turn. I'm just done with life. And it's completely anonymous. And I monitor Whisper because Whisper has a military line or a military app built into it. So all military personnel, whether active duty or retired or anybody, can go into that military community and talk and whisper. And it's that one that I monitor mostly, because if somebody's going to do something, it's going to happen. They're trying to let it known. They're trying to get attention. And if I can catch them at the right moment before something happens, we usually can get them the help they need.
Mm. So if it's anonymous, how do you catch them? How do you even?
Because we can.
How do you get a hold of them?
We can send a chat, send them a chat request to say, you know what, I understand what you're going through. This is not the end of the world, and you're anonymous as well. So, it's you open up the communication by reaching out and saying, you're not alone in this. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're going through is not as bad as what it could be.
Right.
Think about who you're leaving behind. Think about who you're going to hurt if you leave this world, if you do something stupid.
So do you notice that, or do you see, is it most people on Whisper, I've never been on it, to be honest with you, so I'm my own personal question here. Do you see, is it mostly suicidal type folks or conversations that are happening on Whisper, or what other conversations might be happening on Whisper?
There's different conversations. The ones that I've tried to focus on are the ones saying, okay, I've sold everything. I'm leaving this earth. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that I try and focus my attention on. The other conversations there's teenagers on there going through teenage drama, and I don't care to deal with that. My focus is the military community and making sure that everybody knows that there is always someone listening.
Right. So I'm sure I'm positive you're familiar with the whole 22 push-ups a day challenge as a way to bring awareness and hopefully mitigate veteran suicide, right?
Yes, I am.
So what's your to be honest now, what's your honest take on the whole 22 push-ups a day? Does that do anything? Is that helping the problem of veteran suicide? What's your take?
It is not helping the problem with veteran suicide.
So
yes, 22.
Yeah. So what's the point then?
Honestly, to me, is a good idea, but they are going about it the wrong way. 22 push-ups a day for veteran suicide is actually, the numbers are actually a little bit higher than that. The national average, believe it or not, is actually higher than 22 a day. And I have in mind for 2018, 2019, is doing 23 miles a day across the country. And that 23 miles a day is to symbolize, yes, the 22 veterans that killed themselves or take their lives by suicide. But that extra mile is to say, I am walking that extra mile with you. You know, I will carry you if I have to. So just knocking out the 22 push-ups, yeah, that's making you feel good. That's making you feel like you're doing something. But why not up that and do 23 push-ups for that, and to say, okay, I'm going to do this for you. You're not alone. I will carry you across the finish line, you know, or do something more instead of just the 22.
Yeah. And see, and that's where I struggle with the whole 22 push-ups, right? Whether, I mean, and even what you're talking about, walking the 23 miles. All right, I'm going to put myself into a suicidal veteran's state of mind right now, right? I am, you know, I served my country. I gave my country everything that I had. So much so that I lost soldiers, I lost friends, acquaintances, and I come home from deployment and I lose my wife and my kids are gone and I don't get to see them because they now live in another state. And I get out of the military with maybe a 4-hour TAPS class, which I don't really learn a whole lot from, and I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to begin with because my mind was on all these other things going on in my life. And I get out and I can't find a job. I feel disconnected. I've lost my sense of purpose. I don't know what end is up. I don't have anyone in my life that I feel comfortable turning to. No one in my life knows what I've been through, knows how I feel. I go to bed at night and this little fucker called what if keeps running through my head. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? Would it have saved my guys? What if I had done this? Would it have saved my marriage? And I feel betrayed by my country. I feel betrayed by the military. I feel angry because I gave up so much of myself and I feel like I've done it all for no reason. And I am self-medicating, whether it be through drugs or alcohol or both. I'm rock bottom. I can't pay my bills. I'm in debt. Right? Does this sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
And I am just, you know, I'm looking at my revolver on my, you know, dresser in my room, and things just seem like it would be much better without me in the world. And then all of a sudden, I grab my phone and I'm flipping through Facebook and I see somebody doing 22 push-ups, and all of a sudden I think, life isn't so bad now. I'm better. I by watching somebody do 22 push-ups, I am now elevated enough out of that funk to the point where I no longer feel like I want to end my life. Now, to me, that doesn't make any sense. That scenario,
it does not.
You know what I'm saying? That scenario, I just now, and again, this isn't a 22 a day push-up bashing, you know, party, or I'm not even knocking the 23 miles that you're walking. What I am trying to say though is this: people that need the help the most aren't in the state of mind to really give a shit about any of that. They just aren't.
Exactly.
They just aren't. So that's my biggest hang up. I appreciate, let's bring awareness to it. really the 22 push-ups a day and walking 22 or whatever other challenge or things out there that people are coming up with to do. It really is about bringing awareness not to the veteran that is feeling in this state of mind. It's bringing awareness to people that aren't in this state of mind, bringing awareness to veterans like you and me that are in a better place in our life. And what it really should be about is about bringing awareness to people to take action, to reach out in some form or fashion, like you're doing with Battle Buddies for Life, like I'm doing with Change Your POV Podcast, like so many other people out there that are doing things that are actually making a difference. That's what it's about. That's how you reduce the suicide numbers. Because let's face it, you're right. The numbers are higher than 22 a day. But the other piece of this too is the largest demographic of veteran suicide isn't amongst the OIF and OEF demographic. It's amongst it's the Vietnam veterans right now.
Yes, it is. And
a lot of people don't even consider that. They hear numbers like 22 veteran suicides a day, and they're thinking it's these young, 25, 30, 35-year-olds coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan over the past 12 years. And granted, there are a lot of those, but the majority of individuals that are ending their lives are the Vietnam veterans. So really, there's a lot of things that we as veterans or non-veterans can do to reach out to that demographic, to veterans of other wars and other conflicts of different times, to make that positive difference. Now, I kind of went off on a little bit of rant there, but I get a little frustrated with the whole social media hype. It almost seems like it's just that. It's more of a hype than it is actually helpful. What's your take?
Yes, I totally agree with that. It is more hype. And I totally agree with you that we need to bring more awareness. And that's what I am trying to do by making sure that the counseling centers that I call and I talk to personally, I speak to the doctors, I speak to the staff, and they know my side of the story, and they are willing to help. And they will go home and they will talk to their military veterans or their family members and their friends and say, you know what? This organization is out here to help y'all. There's an organization that we just signed on with to be a partner with that is here to help. Mm-hmm. And you are not alone.
That's right.
And that's what Battle Buddies for Life is. You are always a battle buddy.
Mm-hmm. Once a veteran, always a veteran. You may be able,
exactly.
You may take off that uniform for the last time and never, serve in that capacity, but you will always be a veteran. You can't get away from that. So you're right. You're a battle buddy, and we all are still in this together. We may not all still be in, but we're all still in this together. So we have run out of time. Gene, thank you so much for coming on the show. Before we go, though, I want you to, and again, I didn't give you a heads up for this. I'm putting you on the spot here, but I want to end it with 3 actionable takeaways that the listening audience could do right now to make a positive impact or a positive difference in the lives of veterans in and around their lives.
Number 1, don't be afraid to ask the question. Number 2, get them some help. And number 3, if all else fails, call the lifeline. Battle Buddies for Life is here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I never sleep. Pick up the phone and give us a call. We will assist you.
That's awesome. And just so we're all clear and there's no confusion, when you say the number 1, don't be afraid to ask the question, what question is that?
Or you thinking about hurting yourself or hurting others.
Now, it's important to hear this, folks, because you cannot beat around the bush with this question. When you're dealing with somebody that's in that state of mind, you can't use innuendos or you cannot beat around the bush. You have to be very, and it's hard, man. I know, I've been there, I've done it. I've said those words. It's hard. It's tough. You have to be very blunt. And you have to be direct. You have to say the words. Are you feeling like hurting yourself and or others? Are you feeling like committing suicide? You have to say it. You can't say, are you feeling like giving it up right now? Or, what's your thoughts about, your position in this world? I mean, you can't be vague about it, because when somebody's in that state of mind, they're thinking very binary, right? You're literally the ultimate binary, right? Life, death, yes, no, black, white. Yep. It's very binary. They're not thinking in the gray. They're not thinking, artistic, colorful language. So in order to communicate somebody that's in a binary state of mind, you have to be very binary with your language. Would you agree?
I would, totally.
Okay. And again, that number, folks, is 803-768-LIFE. Pick up the phone, or you know what? Just keep that number with you and be able to, at any moment's notice, give that number out to somebody that may need it. You never know when you're going to run into somebody in your life that may need to call that number. So write this number down. It may not be for you. You may not ever need to call this number yourself, but you may run into a person in your life sometime down the road that may need this number, 803-768-LIFE. Gene, where can others find more about you and what you've got going on?
Through our website, www.battlebuddiesforlife.com. Our website has more information and even has a contact form for you to contact me directly.
All right, folks. Thank you so much, Gene Bryant, for coming on with Battle Buddies for Life. Folks, check it out. The links for everything we talked about will be in the show notes for this episode over at changeyourpov.com/episode 156. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. Come be part of our community over at Change Your POV Squad Facebook group. And folks, don't forget about Mountain Up. Head on over there. You can find out all kinds of great, wonderful stuff to buy for you and or your loved ones. ChangeYourPOV.com/Mountain Up. Don't forget about your 10% discount code, GOOD10, GOOD10. All right, folks, until next time.